This is live. I just want to invite you all to get into the comments, ask your questions, but no, I always like to set the tone. You already know how Nicole is. I'm extremely forthright, very transparent. I tell my business, and I only introduce you to people that are like legitimate friends. This is not an influencer flex. We're here with Yasmine Cheyenne. She is a real friend of mine at my wedding, around my babies. And she's written a book that I genuinely think is an incredible book that really, if you are drawn to my writing, I want you to know there's a reason why she's here. And we're getting right into the thick of it. We're talking about how when you recognize things need change in your life, you're gonna lose people. You're going to lose people. You're going to get friction. It's the precursor to the good. And I want you right now, as Yasmin's telling us more about this portion of this book, Comeback Era, what she witnessed, how she identified it, and how to get out of it. I want you to tell me if this is something you've experienced. Get into the chat and let me know. As soon as you made a decision to make a big change in your life, did you start seeing friction? Type in a yes if that happened to you. Go ahead, Yasmin. Tell me all about it.
Yeah. So once you see that friction and once you realize, okay, I'm uncomfortable, this marriage isn't going to work, this career isn't going to work, this friendship isn't going to work, I can't continue to do this job that I thought I needed to do because society said this is the path that I should follow. Most people get to a place where they feel like, especially if you're in midlife, because
Mhm.
you start to feel like you're running out of time. And I know that we're not running out of time, but there's this fear that I've already wasted so much. And I don't want to waste another moment. But if I choose the wrong next step, or if I take this risk and it doesn't work out, what will happen? And will it be worse than where I am? Because I'm already used to this uncomfortable.
Yes.
So the comeback era is going to introduce you to the version of you that you were before the world told you who you had to be. And for a lot of us, it's our younger selves. It's the person that we made the promise to that we're not going to fail. We're not going to continue to live the way that we had to. And we picked all of these paths, these people, these marriages, these situations, because we thought we were saving our younger self. But really what we were doing is we were doing what we thought was the right thing versus what was for us. And so I want us to get curious about what life could be like today if we actually chose based on what we really want.
Oh, so let's talk about that really want. So everyone in the comments is like, yes. They're all like, yes, girl. Like we have felt
Mhm.
the friction. We know what this is. We've been through this. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. What you're describing right now, I like to think of, and as you describe in the comeback era, is actually clarity.
Yes.
It's oh my goodness, I had this nagging clarity that is coming as I'm getting to know myself more, and I'm ready to design the direction of my life, right? It's this clarity.
Yeah.
But you mentioned in the book that society calls it not clarity. Society treats it like it's a crisis. And we are processing clarity as a crisis.
Yeah.
It's waking us up at 3 a.m. It's
Mhm.
telling us that, something isn't right with us.
Mhm.
Help talk to me about that distinction more, because I think you may be meeting a lot of people in that urgency, in that fear, in that what's wrong with me. When you're telling me it's not what's wrong with me, we're on the verge of a breakthrough.
Yes, and I think it's why I talk about our younger selves in the book because people call it a crisis because we take risks. People like dye their hair, get the motorcycle. Like that's the kind of
Yes.
things that we associate with a midlife crisis. But
Yep.
also divorce, also leaving the job, also like we make decisions, but it's not the decision that we're making because we're 40 or we're 45. We've been knowing that we need to make this decision 10 years ago. And
Yes.
what I really also want us to think about when we think about that clarity that's coming up, it's also an opportunity for us to ask ourselves, how have I been betraying myself? There's a grief in that clarity. And the grief that comes from the clarity is what often makes us not want to make the decision that we know we need to make.
Okay. So I just want to say for the record, I, I don't want to get teary about it because it's just the truth and it's just honest. But y'all, this is what I love. If you are seeing the direction of this conversation, you will understand why this book is something I recommend. It's because you cut right to it. Right.
Mhm.
And it feels uncomfortable. It feels
Mhm.
unsettling, right? Naming something that we're going through as a grief. I've talked about this in going through my own divorce. A lot of people are saying, like, Nicole, you are 3 years out, girl. Why are you even talking about all the things that have happened? Why are you even sharing, all of it? And I'm like, look, 3 years is how long it took me to
That
finish
part.
grieving that I stayed in something that, increasingly I realized why did I even there literally was a whole season of like, what who did I love the new me so much. Or I guess I've met myself and I love this
Mhm.
person so much. Why did I allow her to be treated that way?
Yes.
Why did I permit this? And it was a grief for the time, the money, the energy, the effort, the opportunities, the health things lost. So talk to us about that. Why don't we hear more about the grief that comes within the comeback?
Because that would be, you know what, when you're at a party and somebody asks you, "How are you doing? Like, how's it been?" And we tell that like lie that helps us feel like we are, "Oh, everything's fine," or the kids are this, or we go into whatever conversation that helps us look great. We
Ooh,
got so caught.
ooh, oh, I was checking, make sure my wig's still on.
Keep the edges.
Not the lie that helps us look great.
Yes,
Sis.
the lie that makes the family look smooth. When we get so caught up in that story that the grief often catches us off guard. And usually the grief doesn't hit us until we are safe enough to process it. It doesn't hit us until we have left. So the idea that there would be some grief before you make the decision, no, it's once the decision has been made and then you're safe. Because we don't realize that there's so much anxiety, there's so much stress in staying in a situation that doesn't feel good. And we don't realize that there's so much transformation that can take place once we allow ourselves to face the hard feelings that we've been feeling, which is the grief, which is the sadness, which is the how do I move on from here piece.
I think that that is an important distinction. And so, for those of you just jumping on and saying to yourself, like, what are we even talking about here? We're talking about what it looks like to be in a comeback era, right? And how a comeback era is something that may not look like a comeback just yet, And so many people think you come out of divorce, you come out of the breakup, you come out of, the new job. So many people right now are transitioning
Yes.
jobs, and you're thinking, oh, okay, like I'm ready for my comeback era. Like, what's happening? Why am I grieving? Why am I sad? Why am I asking? Why did I even stay at that job so long for them to cast me aside? Why did I stay in that marriage in order for it to fail? This is
Mhm.
supposed to be my comeback. I did the hard part.
Yes.
I got out, and so we're talking about the fact that in reality, that is still your comeback era, but grief is part of it. So, okay, so I'm in my comeback era. I've acknowledged my grief. I'm working past it. One, what comes next? How are we? Because I mean, you talked about the exploration. I'm not gonna lie. I changed up my wig. I was wearing
Mhm.
crop tops, and I was really trying to find like what do I like. You know what I mean? I was
Yes.
going snowboarding, trying to like. I felt like I'd never tried a hobby. I just worked all
Yes.
the time.
And you
So
were
is that normal?
shopping. Yes.
I
It's
was shopping.
yes. Because it's like, and I talk about this in the book, but it's an opportunity to reconnect with our younger selves. Young you would have just bought the coat. Young
Yes.
you would have just, okay, I'm going to try out the shirt. When we get older, we forget that we still have an opportunity to try new things. We still have an opportunity to see what would it feel like to do the thing that, yeah, this might not be permanent, but it might just be fun.
Yeah.
We lose so much of our joy in relationships that drain us. We lose our sense of self, like who we really could have developed into. And we're also grieving that. We're grieving the person that we could have been had we not met this person. Like now I
Yes.
have to unlearn who I am right now that I have had to become to keep everything together. And I have to try to release that and do something new. So, this is an opportunity for you to really reconnect with that younger self that is going to allow you to be free to do what you would have done had you not had somebody necessarily or a situation, a career holding you down or holding you back. I also just want to mention, too, that a lot of people are battling what people are going to say about the change you're going to make.
Mhm.
I've been divorced as well. I'm remarried, but that was the hardest part actually, the disappointment that I had to face on other people's faces, and it wasn't even a choice that they were going to have to make, and so
They
I think
weren't
that's
even involved. They're not
not
even
even
in
involved,
the
don't even have
thing,
to live with them.
And even and in this world now of parasocial relationships and social media, I'm really blessed. I have a community and so many of them are here right now. And I think you all understand. Like we just gonna have a keep it real girlfriends in the room moment. Y'all know that when we went through the divorce. You see what I'm saying? Like we went through the divorce together. Okay. When we went through the divorce, we were all collectively like, are the girls gonna be okay? Like, Nicole, we need you stable to make sure the kids are good. You know what I mean? Like, we
Mhm.
see you you out here, like, people were clocking what I was going through before I had even said anything about what I was going through. And that first announcement that I was making about it, it
Mhm.
wasn't just to family. Like, obviously, I'd said the family, we went through, the hierarchy, but I was also dealing with the awareness of disappointing the people that
Yes.
had been with me on that journey because I had this public, so many of us now have more public lives. So
Yes.
we're worried about not just like, telling the kids and then privately going through it at home. No, we have to tell like our church and we have to tell all these other people. And so all the people here who are so many are reading my Substack saying, "Girl, we always knew. We're just glad to see that you finally are learning the lessons and you're okay."
Yes.
It was tough. That was one of the hardest things is I was worried about disappointing my crew here, the
Yeah.
internet aunties, my Substack friends, just letting them know like my marriage didn't work and please don't think that I failed, or
Yes.
that I am a failure or that I am broken. I literally it's not working and I promise you this makes sense. Talk about how that is also it's almost like a secondary trauma that is
Mhm.
part of the comeback because now I can see that I was in my comeback era from the minute that I knew I was going to exit. I hadn't even gotten on that plane,
That's
but
the
my comeback
beginning
era had
part.
started. Yes. So let's talk about what that looks like, this disappointment of others and what we're supposed to do. Because it's easy to be like, oh, don't worry about them people. But that's not the case. Comeback era also, I mean, like we're gonna get into your seven C's framework. We'll talk about that in a second.
Mhm.
But can you talk to us a little bit more about that? How do we handle the disappointment, if at all?
Yes, and I talk about this in the book too because there's a like when people begin to project their negativity, their feelings of your quote unquote failure onto you, their statements begin to replay in your head. And
Yes, they
I
do.
describe it as like being on a train and you're coming to each stop, the imposter syndrome stop, the you failed stop. But it feels like that because as you're moving through your life, you just hear their words replayed. And it takes a lot to reprogram that voice because it sounds like you. And because it sounds like
Mhm.
you begin to believe it's your voice. And so getting to know yourself again, like the crop top may seem silly. The snowboarding may seem silly. All of these things may be like, why am I doing these things? Because you're really rebuilding a foundation of what has been broken down, not just from the failed thing, quote unquote, failed thing that you think you know, that you lost a part of yourself and that you won't be able to gain back. But you're also learning how to stand firm in who you're becoming and stand firm in the idea that you don't know who that is yet. You
Yeah.
don't know who you're going to become on the other side of this.
Yes.
I also think it's really important to note that there's a strength that comes with quote unquote failing. I don't want to call it failing, but I also like to name things. And I talk about this in the book too. Sometimes we kind of tip around saying failure or mistake or this. I love those moments because every failure, mistake, opportunity that didn't work out is wisdom. And when we call it wisdom, then it's something that we want to carry with us. But when we call it failure, mistake, etc., then it looks like something that's negative. But we don't have wisdom without failure. We don't have wisdom without mistakes. And so
Yeah.
these moments that we have made, quote unquote, the wrong decision, it's an opportunity for us to bring it with us. But until we name it, until we look at it in the face, it's kind of hard for us to actually absorb what we need to bring with it. And those are the moments that actually become the voice that plays in your head and drowns out the negativity. So the hard answer is that we have to look at the thing that we don't wanna look at, because when I know you can talk to this, but when you walk away from that relationship, the last thing you wanna do is look back. You just want to look forward.
Nobody walks away if they think
Yes.
that they're ever gonna have to go back because it takes so much, and I just wanna turn to my crew here because there's a reason we're all in this room. I'm a big
Mhm.
believer about that. How many of you, if you're comfortable sharing, have walked away from something that by all other respects, people from the outside may not even understand, right? But
Mhm.
you walked away because you knew it did not serve you.
Mhm.
It's almost a harder like, I don't wanna, like, play suffering Olympics, but it's a hard place to be when you don't have a clear cut, a socially acceptable reason for why it's not good,
Yeah.
and I think Comeback Era addresses this really, really well. Sometimes it is listening to the little you, as you call it, right?
Yes.
It's not just, like, it's awful to hear, but we're gonna keep it real. When I got divorced, people are like, "What do you mean? He didn't beat you?" What, like you're a Christian, you're supposed to stay in it longer, "Oh,
Ah,
you guys have money, it should work anyways." "You have kids, why aren't you staying for the kids?" Or another one I heard was, "Did you just get too good for him?" and or even jobs. You have a six-figure job. Why would you quit that job? You have benefits. Why would you do that? And Dana nailed it. That is a low bar.
That
And so
part.
so let's talk about that with comeback era. Let's get into the redefinition of self because, you're rediscovering, you're trying things, you're trying to connect with the little you, but there's something that happens that is part of this comeback process where you meet another version of yourself and everything you're doing as you describe it has to like honor and match up with that version. Otherwise, that friction's going to come. So talk to us
Yes.
about that more about like discovering your new self and then how to honor and listen to and apply things that creates a path towards that.
Yes. And I do this throughout the book because I think, first of all, we're doing small steps.
Mhm.
Every single opportunity for you to look at yourself or pour into yourself in the book is a very small step. And the reason why I choose that is because you already just overhauled your own life. The
Yeah.
last thing that you need is something that is going to tear you apart. And so, for example, I have this one here in the beginning of the book, and it's called a come back to yourself moment. And it says, for 1 week, while you're brushing your teeth, so we are habit stacking in the evening, think about how you spent your time that day and ask yourself, if I had the power to change one thing about just today, what would I shift? If I had the power to do one thing all day today, what would it be? And I know that that seems like an everyday question that's really not that big of a deal, but you'll be surprised how those kinds of internal questions land within you after you've made the decision to make a big transformation. And it is through self conversation because everybody's going to have an opinion to tell you this is what you should do. When I got divorced, when I left my job, when I was 45, everybody's going to want to tell you. You're going to have those conversations with yourself. And those conversations with yourself are the conversation you're going to be bringing with you to church to marinate on when you're listening to,
In the
praise
car,
and worship in the
everywhere.
car with your
Yes.
therapist. The getting to know yourself again is going to be a slow process. As Nicole was just sharing, she's just writing about this now. It's been 3 years. She got a baby that's
A
reading.
whole baby. I'm whole Mary. Like, and literally, but this is addressing comeback era too, because some people will then say, "How are you moving into the new thing simultaneously while discovering?" Understand that the new thing is helping me discover. And
Yes,
so you talk about the importance of like moving and learning at the same time. Can you
yes,
expand on that a little bit? That it isn't a sit and wait until I am better before I go on. Can you talk about that? Because I think you
yes.
always illustrate that well.
A lot of people will think I have to get my the one word phrase I want us to throw out is get myself together. There is no getting of yourself together. You have to be able to bring the pieces that you are learning with you as you begin to move forward. And so, okay, I know that I'm going through this divorce. I don't know what I want yet, but I'm willing to get curious about what partner I want to be. I'm bringing this part with me. And the thing that you'll realize too as you begin to get closer to what you want to be, whether it's the job, the partner, whatever, as you create safety within yourself and within your relationships, you're not in the relationships with no boundaries. You're not in the career that's draining you. You're going to the friends and the get togethers that help to fill you. When your nervous system resets, when the dysregulation and overwhelm begins to ease, that's when you're finally able to look back. You can't look back when you're anxious and when you're nervous and when you're overwhelmed and walking on eggshells in your own house. You're on alert. You're trying to save yourself, your kids, your family. Once you rest and put your shoulders down, then all of those questions come up. And so, having, like using you as an example, Nicole,
Mhm.
having a husband that keeps you safe, having your children be safe, having your home be a place where you can rest is the reason why you can
The
finally
work.
do this.
It's
It's
the
the
work.
work.
It's the work. And just like, I mean, y'all, we can pause on that for a second. If you are just hopping on, we are talking to Yasmine Cheyenne, the author of The Comeback Era. This is her third book. She is a Today Show wellness expert. She has been in several major publications. She is actually a close personal friend of mine. We danced at my wedding together. Okay. That is absolutely how much I trust this woman to be in our space and to speak into our hearts. And I want you to know that what we're discussing right now is how this comeback that we're all kind of chasing, this sort of when things get better, the aftermath of quitting the job, the aftermath of leaving the marriage, the aftermath of having the baby and rediscovering ourselves. I mean, you actually go through in the comeback era a few different avatars, right? A few different
Yes.
people that I think are great examples for who we are, and when you talk talk about each of those different, the five people, the general five people, the
Mhm.
executive who realized their corner office was a cage, the mother who discovered that having it all means losing yourself completely, the high achiever who checked every box except for the one that really matters to their life. Like all of these, for some of us, we are all of these.
Yes.
We are all of these.
Hello.
Hello, hello, it's me, right? But we're talking about how things aren't linear. They're imperfect. We're figuring it out as we go. And if there's anything we can extend ourselves, it's grace as we're applying the tools. So I want to talk because I know you. And I
Mhm.
get to benefit because not all the interviews you do are with people who actually know who you are. So, as a friend, I want to talk about what people aren't seeing, your inspiration behind writing this book. Okay. So
Yes.
I know some of the behind the scenes. I know that you've been doing your own personal journey because writing a book takes it out of you, but also we're both corporate background. We've done some of these things like pivoting the career and all that.
Yes.
Girl, being on your own comeback era, you know, figuring out your own stuff. You have kids, chasing your goals. You're doing big things like writing a book. And I think a lot of people type in a one if you have any desire to write a book, or if you know that you
Mhm.
have a message you'd love to bring to the world someday, even if you don't know how, right?
Mhm.
You know, you've managed to put so much of what you've learned into this book and what you've witnessed. How was that for you? Is it scary? Do you feel exposed? Are you nervous about it? Because publishing is a dream, but it's not easy to write this type of thing and put it out there knowing that you're kind of turning a light on yourself. So talk to
Listen,
us about it.
I've
How you
always
doing?
been very strategic in not turning the light on
Yes, you
myself.
have. That's what I was about to say. I was
And you told me years ago, look,
like, so we're gonna talk about it.
you know, it's been very hard. And it's been very hard because I've recognized some patterns in myself. First of all, let's be clear, I did not write this book so that I can create my own comeback. That was not the intention. And
No,
yet
you were doing the comeback.
I am
Okay.
doing it. And it is I'm a recovering perfectionist. If you're a recovering perfectionist, shout out to you. And I'm learning how to allow myself to be someone who makes mistakes, be someone who struggles, be someone, but I've not been someone who would share it publicly. And I felt I'm very authentic. I don't like to hide. And I knew that I could not actually sell this book and talk about this book and promote this book as something that's going to help people change their lives without also being honest about how it's changed mine in this moment. And, a few days ago, I got online and shared a very vulnerable post with my community online. Probably the most vulnerable thing that I've ever shared about my own struggles with just, am I doing enough? Am I enough? And hearing that voice play within my own head that's constantly telling me, like, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing because based on whatever standard that society has given me. And one of the things that I have learned from this writing and from this story that I'm bringing into my own life is the power of vulnerability, the power of telling people what you need, the power of showing up for yourself without having all of the pieces of, once I say this, what's going to happen afterwards. You have to just be willing to take that small step that's going to get you just that little bit further without knowing how it's going to turn out. But I think also what I've learned is the power and the comeback of falling apart, of hitting the ground and allowing everything to just be a mess and not know who's going to help you clean it up. And to just trust that being on the bathroom floor is exactly where you need to be in this moment. And that is going to be the thing that propels you into what you want to do moving forward. I don't think I could have said this well if I wasn't going to allow myself to experience it in this way. And I'm grateful for that because it's going to allow me to see you. It's different than the preaching. It's different than the people who say
That
follow these 10 steps if they're not on the floor with you? And so I'm really allowing myself. I mean, I'm about to go on tour next week, and if I could, I would cancel just because my life is lifing right now. You
Yes,
know
well,
what
and
I
also
mean?
tired. And like
It's
what people don't know about launching a book is it takes so much out of you,
so much.
because you really are a team of one. And the last thing like that you think of after doing all the press and media is not me having to get on planes. You do. People don't know that when you do a tour, you do an event and you go to bed at maybe 10 o'clock at night after the event, and you wake up for a 3 a.m. flight to the next city so that you can be ready to go. So, I mean, you've got a lot that you're about to do. I get to see you, obviously, which I'm very excited about here in LA. So, for those of you who are in the California area and you want to see us, we are, if you purchase your book through Reparations Club online, we are actually going to be there live having this
Mhm.
having a discussion. But there are gems out of every single discussion, but
Mhm.
we will be talking about this live in person on May 14th. I'm going to drop the link. But if you go to reparationsclub.com, and it's a small business too, Black owned,
Yep.
women business. If you buy your book through them, you can actually see us. So I've dropped the link here, but of course, if you go to their site, click events, you can see us in person having this conversation. But you're getting ready to go on this tour.
Yes.
And it is part of, I guess, the whole comeback process and doing things scared and stepping in. If you go through your framework, what part of the framework do you think is really helping you step up and do the scary thing, that you think everyone here, because so many people just said in the comments that they have a book, they have a story to tell,
Yes.
they have
Yes.
lessons to share. Talk to us about this 7C framework and what elements of it you think really people can extract and apply maybe even today so that they can do the
Yes.
big scary thing.
Yeah, so there's 7 Cs, and I kind of realized that, as you choose something that brings you a sense of purpose or meaning. I like meaning better.
Yeah.
There are these things that actually help you to commit to it. And as I just shared before, like I said, oh, if I wasn't go, I would cancel if I was, if I could, because I'm going through all of this. That's fear. Like that's the part of me
Mhm.
that is like, I'm afraid of people seeing the human in me. I'm afraid of people knowing that I'm fragile. I'm afraid of people knowing that, that I'm not perfect. Like that's that part of me. But in the framework, what helps me actually commit to the thing that I want to be doing is one of the C's called challenging. Because actually, for us to commit to things that we need a challenge. We need something that feels like I've got some skin in the game. The other thing that's helping me commit is community. As much as I'm afraid to be seen, community is what's going to help me realize that I'm not alone. Community in this conversation we're having right now and seeing people say, that's exactly what I'm going through. I'm having this happen in my career. That's what reminds us that's what helps the shame dissipate. And
Yeah.
so when you're in a transformative state, you want to isolate. I don't want to talk to because when you meet people, and you know how this is when you get divorced, people want the tea.
And
What
that's all people want. I mean,
That's
there's
all
some
people
people
want.
who literally are tuning into my Substack for the tea. Like, I'm aware that it is like train wreck central, but the thing about it is, if you gonna watch the tea, you gonna catch the teaching, okay? Because whether you like it or not, there's something to learn. And I'm getting these messages from people who are like, I tuned in for tea, and realistically, there is a little bit of tea. What are you gonna do, right? Like, ain't no divorce that's gonna be all the way clean. But they're like, I see the lesson. Like, I understand the why behind the what. I know why you made this call that I didn't understand then because I'm seeing this now. But how could you have seen that if I didn't live my comeback era out loud?
Yes.
And that's one thing I really admire about you and always respect is like, even though I know it's hard, and I hope everyone here is hearing this, it's hard to share these things. It's
Mhm.
so scary, but I want to let you know that we have got to start extracting the shame that does not serve us by
Mhm.
talking about these things. And even if you have to have the conversation privately with this book, to say, like,
Yes.
where am I? Have the conversation with the book so you can start having it out loud with the world and freeing other women, because
Yes.
that's what you've done for all of us.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think that ultimately, once you begin to have this conversation with yourself, then you begin to walk into what I talk about in part 3, which is essentially your blank slate energy, right? It's this
Mm.
idea that and let me just back up for a second because what happens before you get to that place is you have your wisdom with you, right? Like you reconnected with this version of yourself. You For most of us it's our younger selves that knew who we were and didn't give a damn what other people thought. And now you're processing the grief, you're learning the lessons, you're bringing the wisdom with you. And before you're really about to step into that next part, you move into what I call in the book pre regret. And it's my favorite part of the book because pre regret is before you do the thing that you think you're going to regret, but it's the thing that makes you stop taking the action. It's like, I'm
Yes.
just going to stay here. And so you operate from this place of, I've already failed before I've given myself the chance to do it. I've already failed.
Mm.
And the disappointment is so loud, and I know you agree with this. When you go through something as big as a divorce, a career change, 300,000 Black women lost jobs last year. When something like that hits you, the disappointment, you feel it sometimes you feel it for life. And so
Yes.
you don't want to take the chance to have that kind of disappointment again. And so even though you know you can't stay where you were, you've made that step, but now you think, I don't know what I can do next because I don't know if I could handle another big thing coming at me. And that's pre-regret.
Yes, a pre-regret. So, like, let's talk about pre-regret. The thing that I sat down and said with my therapist, and one of my good friends is on here, and our good friend Danielle Leslie, she just
Mhm,
popped
mhm,
on, and I think
mhm.
Koya's on here too. So,
Hi, Koya.
it's all the people. Hey, y'all. So one of the things that I discussed with my therapist was when I was talking about like just getting back out to date, and I'm gonna have a subset coming about this, y'all. But I was like, my picker is broken. So I don't know if we have any divorced girlies that are on here, or even if you were divorced and now remarried, or you've been through a big breakup. How many of y'all were like, that's the last one? Okay. This is the last corporate job. This is the last relationship. This is
Last
the last
man.
time I do it. Last man, last of everything, because clearly my picker is broken because
Mhm.
these things are not working out, or they always seem to leave me, even if it's not worse off, a little bent out of shape, right? So I want you to talk about how we can reteach ourselves to treat these things as learning experiences as because so I'm like, just to let you know, the thing that I love about the comeback era is just that phrase is empowering, right? It's taking this messy thing because when you talk about comeback era, y'all might be thinking, and this is why you have to read the book. You might be reading this book and thinking, oh yeah, this is about me being on my shine, right? This is my renaissance moment. Okay, let me put on my outfit. I'm making it. She's like flexing. Y'all, if you're reading my Substack, my comeback era is messy. It's messy. I'm
It is the messy
postpartum.
middle.
It's the messy middle. And what I love is that's what this book is about. It's that honesty. It's saying, look, comeback era is messy, but it is still your comeback. Right? It is still your comeback. So it's just so grace filled, even if it is that real packed punch. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I want to make sure everyone has time to go have their lunches, their meal, or not their lunches, their dinners. The kids might be down and all that. If there are any questions while we kind of go into some of our final points, pop them in here. You get to
Yes.
have access to the wellness expert from the Today Show. Okay. Typically, yeah, she's expensive. If you ever wanted to sit down with her, she cost. Okay. Ask your questions. What does a comeback look like? What do you advise? If you're in a situation, you're saying to yourself, how could I get that help? Yasmine is here for us, right?
Mhm.
So I sat down with my therapist and I said, my picker's broken. I said, it's
Mhm.
me. I'm willing to own
Mhm.
it. It's me. I'm not doing it right. And I don't want to date. I met this guy who eventually ended up being my husband. I don't trust it. I don't want to get up in it. I would like to put a break on any comeback because I don't trust it. How
Mhm.
many of us may be standing in the way of our true comeback? Can you talk to me about, is it
Yeah,
possible?
all of us are standing in the way of a true comeback. We don't realize that we're living in our future's past. And what I mean by that is we are our younger self to our future self. We are looking at what our younger self did and judging that. But the future self is looking at us today and saying, hey, we're still there. And if you look at the reality of those words, if you really allow it to sink into you, you want like your future self to look back and be like, okay, look at how you make that choice for yourself. Look at how you finally decided, I'm done betraying myself. I'm done walking as if I don't know the promise that's in me, as if I don't know the opportunity that's in me, as if I don't know what I'm here for. And I know that there's going to be moments where you decide, I mean, I can say this for myself and what I've been going through. I've wanted to quit. I've wanted to
Hmm.
give up.
Have you
I,
wanted to quit today?
I've wanted to quit today, yesterday, Friday. I
Yo,
almost
we
really
are
did.
watching a New York Times best-selling author, right? This is where she is headed, okay? We are
Thank
watching
you.
someone who is incredibly talented, and she is literally, we're looking at someone's answered prayer that you are living right now. And even in this moment, in this era, you've had moments today where you're like, uh-uh. No,
Yes.
not doing it.
Because the truth is, when you decide to do the thing that you're here to do, it's not, you're never going to be comfortable. The comfort was when you were getting up every day, allowing your feet to hit the floor, and you knew you were living a life that was not for you. That was the comfort. I'm just going to continue to like take out my pots and pans and make this little dinner and go to bed and know that nothing is supposed to be the way that it is right now. But I don't want to move out from here. That was the comfort. The discomfort is when you decide to actually go after what you're here for. And that's the part that I think no one ever talks about.
Yeah. So how many of y'all right now were like, I feel a little called out a little bit? Like, not you're telling me I'm living in the comfort. That's not my truth now. Okay. Y'all, we have been here chatting for about 30 minutes with my sweet, incredible, brilliant dear friend, Yasmine Cheyenne, the author of The Comeback Era. And I mean, she is like bar after bar after bar, keeping us and putting us together. And we have some questions coming in. So as we, start to wrap up, let's go ahead and ask this question from
Yes.
Michelle, because both of us are divorced and
Mhm.
remarried with
Yes.
kids and all the things. So
Mhm.
she wants to know, when do you know if you're even ready to date again, if we're in this
Mhm.
comeback evolution, right? And then if that's the case, how do you even know if the thing is real? How do you know that broke picker's not broken, right? How do you know it's fair to trust? How do you fully believe again when you've been through so much? How do you allow yourself to believe in the comeback?
Oh, I love that, Michelle. And I have to tell you, there's two things I want to point to because when you think my clicker's broken, essentially what it is we've lost the sense of self trust. We've lost the sense, and for good reason. Because when you're going through a divorce, you're like, now how did I end up divorcing this man who wants this from me? I mean, I've been look. It's inconceivable that the person
Inconceivable.
who's in front of me would be the
Ain't no way.
person.
How did I sleep next to you, but I'm across from this like, even if you're like, I can see how it got here. I see how you like this, but ain't no way.
No
Not
way.
with me having your babies that it's gonna be like
No
this.
way.
Ain't no
So let's
way.
let's verify that for a second. The part of you that's like, my clicker must be off. She has a good point because how did we end up here? Okay. Second piece that I want to really talk about is okay, now that we've ended up here, the part of you, the person that's in you that has you sitting across from this person that you don't recognize, that part of you also exists. So yes, there's always going to be the part of you that maybe would choose somebody on hope. There's always going to be the part of you that's like, oh, you know what? He's not perfect, but he's a project. That part exists. We need to learn to listen to the voice that's like, and no, we're going to be signing these papers. That voice
Yeah.
has to become a little bit louder. And so, to answer your question, how would you know that you're ready to date? How loud is that voice within you right now? Are you still saying to yourself, okay, well, I'm willing to do, I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to give a shot. Well, maybe, well, he should have. Well, I should have. Are you still having those red flag moments happen and you're kind of painting them white, as I call them, the sugar jar, where when you see that red flag flying, you don't want to face it. And so you paint it a different color and pretend it's something that it's not. If
Mhm.
that's still happening, I really would give yourself a break. And I know nobody wants to hear that because when you break up from a narcissist or a manipulator or any of these other kind of guys out there, we think like, okay, I've left that alone and I'll most likely choose something different. But
I know better. I know what it looks
I
like.
know better. But speaking from experience, I had a healing to do. And I
Yeah.
don't know about you, Nicole, but like I met my husband fairly fast after
I felt
um
fast. I felt
it felt
fast.
fast for
For me
me.
too. Yeah.
But I had to do a lot of healing
Yep.
with that relationship that again,
Yes.
I'll be married 10 years this year now, remarried 10 years. But looking back, had I taken just a little bit more time and let him just romance me while I was going to
I
therapy.
don't even go. I don't even feel like I enjoyed the way I could have enjoyed the
Yeah.
first couple year of it, because like I was still so like, is it real? Is it real? Is it safe? Is it
Yes.
like, not you being kind, not you being safe, not you being loving? Is it what do you really want? What is this really about? Are you just trying to make me work? Do you just want,
Yes.
I just so much of that other stuff. And mind you, that was like a year plus after going through
Mhm.
so much healing. I'm not talking to anyone. Like I was so traumatized that I couldn't let
Yes.
myself. And I think that's a good question that, what that came up here was, how do we know it's not just boredom? You know what I mean? And we're
Mhm.
just happy to have our distraction trigger, by this relationship. You know what I mean? Like, or I'm just doing what I'm expecting people to do, the next relationship. How do we know this is something we genuinely want and we're not just itching for a comeback?
Yes. Well, is that in terms of should I get divorced or in terms of should I date?
I think that's in terms of should I date again? You know
Because
what I
if
mean?
it's
Like
in terms
if
of
it's some or something new, you know what I mean? Like some people,
right.
listen, let's keep it real, y'all. All of y'all here, some of y'all go back to the corporate job because you feel like you're supposed to work, but you have no desire to do corporate. And you've always wanted to be like, look, I don't care if I'm an accountant. I'm trying to launch my little cafe. You
Yes.
don't even do the thing you want to do because you feel like you're supposed to, or you're just bored, or you're just lonely. It's like a relationship. So how do we
Mhm.
distinguish that part?
So the boardroom, I just want to answer that question really quickly. When you are bored, you usually do things that fill your time. They don't fill you though. So if you are bored, if you are bored and you are just doing random things, but you're not feeling full, for example, Netflix, Instagram, TikTok, Chick-fil-A, if you're doing all of those things and they taste good and it sounds good and it looks good, but you still feel like there's something missing, then you know that's a boardroom thing. If you're doing all of those things, if you're in the pot of your class, if you're sitting down to write and doing all of those things, then you know it's a feeling. And so I really want us to just compassionate honesty is something that I really want us to bring with us. Compassionate meaning we're not here to tear ourselves apart.
That's right.
Honesty in that we know exactly what the truth is sometimes that we don't want to admit to ourselves. And that's the hard work about this too in the comeback era because it's hard to lie to yourself. When you're vulnerable, when you've gotten divorced, when you've left the job, when you've done a thing, you are raw. It's hard to lie to
Yes.
yourself in that state. It's
Yes.
hard to pretend to be someone else in that state.
That's so good. And I think that, kind of tying into, because Dana mentioned this as well, like type in a one if you're like a high capacity woman, meaning we don't want to be working. We're accidental breadwinners, right? Like we love work, but we don't want to be working at the volume, we're working, or we want the choice to put it down. I think that a lot of y'all are going to type a one on that one, right? Where it's like, I just work a lot because I have these obligations,
Yes.
and I'm fortunate, maybe if you're lucky, to do the type of work that you don't mind doing. But it's like, I just need a chance to put it down. That's all it is. I didn't sign up for all this. And I
Mhm.
think that, Elliptica asked a question about that. Right now I'm in my comeback era, but I'm creating and I'm posting and it brings me joy. But is any of this avoiding maybe? Is any of this healing? Because some of us are so dang busy that like,
Yes.
are we distracting from our healing with busy work?
Some of us are distracting from our healing work with busy work, because we need a damn break. Heal healing was never supposed to be something that we do 24/7 the way we do right now. I don't know how we got into the mode of
Self-care, soft life, all this stuff. I was like, who is funding this? Please. How many of y'all, let's
listen.
keep it real, we're women of a certain age. Y'all, I be looking like, who's paying for all this? Who's paying for you to lay out and get these massages and facials 24/7? And as someone who understands business and numbers, I know for a fact the math ain't mathin'. You laid out
No.
24/7, sis. That's not it. What is
It
it giving?
it's giving, the credit card, points that you get when you first sign up. Because listen, and I just saw somebody saying there, like, I wanna do what I wanna do full time. Like, I wanna be doing what I love full time. And I think there's the beauty of taking your time and finding your way to what you want and not rushing, whether it's
Yeah.
dating, career, relationship, whatever it is that you don't have to now live in regret because you took your
Yes.
time. So you can
Yes.
live in that phase of I learned what it looks like when I move fast. I learned what it looks like when I know this isn't going to work, but I don't want to call off the wedding because everybody's already here. I learned what it looks like when I sign the acceptance letter because I'm too afraid to do the thing that no one thinks I should do. What will it look like for me to do what I want in a slow and steady way that allows
Yeah.
me to finally, because
Yes.
I just want to mention this. If you have grown in a way where you have lived in scarcity, where you have been in struggle, you're wired for hustle, it takes you
Ooh.
a while to learn how to hold. And so, like what Nicole and I are talking about, when you finally start dating someone who shows up for you in the way that you're supposed to be, and you marry someone who shows up for you in that way, you don't have a big container for holding that kind of love. You have to learn how to grow
Yeah.
that kind of container that can hold that kind of love. The same thing happens for your relationships. The same thing happens for money, to be honest, and every kind of other thing. And so, allow yourself, you don't want to be a lottery winner when it comes to your romantic relationship where you get the love and then you can't hold it, so it just spills out. You spend it before you can even have an opportunity to enjoy it. You want to be able to hold it and believe that you deserve what's coming your way.
Yeah.
And we got to give
Yeah.
ourselves the time to build that kind of capacity.
Oh, that's so good. But what I love about that example, that picture of it all is we're not saying we have to reject it. We're not saying we don't
No.
get any of it. We're saying, look, we are building and working and stretching to have
Yep.
capacity to hold it all. And it's also why, we talked about how we both met our current husbands, what felt quick for us. But one of the things I said it to my therapist, I was like, I don't know how, I feel like shouldn't I be after being in the type of marriage I was in for as long as I am, shouldn't I be like, laid out for like 5 years? You know what I mean? Shouldn't I be like all the way done with the paperwork? My divorce took 4 years. I was like, shouldn't I be all the way done, before I
How soon how when was your marriage really over though? Because for most of us it's over
don't
it's
make me run. This room is small, girl. I can't
it's
do
over 3 years before you actually
stop with the math, stop with the numbers. So and y'all, she's asking questions she knows the answers to, first of all. So this isn't fair. This is what happens when you do stuff with your friends. They'd be like, now you go tell your business. So no, realistically, that's the truth. That is
for
100%
me
the truth.
too.
That is what my therapist said to me. She said, the reason it feels like you're moving on fast is because you had already started your comeback era in the marriage when you weren't already being intimate, which I've talked about this publicly already, 3 years into it, when you were already saying, look, I'm going to work on my fitness because I matter. I'm going to change my diet because I matter. I'm going to start pursuing things without asking for permission because I
Mhm.
matter. When I'm going to start launching this line of business, I'm going to start doing things. I was already 3 to 5 years into the exit within the marriage, even while doing couples therapy, because understand that the me that exists today was the one who had to do the couples therapy.
Yes.
Because if he wasn't on board with that person, then we wouldn't have worked because the other person was gone, which is how we started this conversation.
Yes.
Those boundaries were here to stay.
Yes,
You know
she
what
was
I mean?
gone.
She was gone. And so what was interesting was then by the time I came out of all of this, I was maybe like a year into me being able to be in the world for free, but I was already
Yes.
there. I was already there. And so I really hope all of you are hearing in this conversation that we're having with Yasmine. I know some of you are popping on just now, talking about what it looks like to have a comeback era. And really, I think what we focused on here today is dispelling the truth, or I shouldn't say the truth, but the comments and the beliefs
Yes.
around a comeback era happening in a linear conclusion sort of phase. You go through the hard stuff, it's over, you're coming back. And you
Mhm.
make it so clear and break it down in this book that, look, your comeback era can start today, even while you're in the hard part. What does it
Yes.
look like to start telling yourself the truth? And Yasmin, thank you for writing this book.
Thank
Like,
you.
you poured you blood. What did it say? You put your foot in it, girl. Like
Put
you,
my
I
foot
mean,
in it.
you put your foot in it. Okay, you put your whole self in this book, and now you're going around the nation to bring it all to us. Now, I'm gonna, I know we talked about the book a little, but while we have you here, and I hope you guys will enjoy this portion of it, I want to talk just a tiny bit about publishing, if you're open to it,
So
because
open. You're
okay,
gonna
this
have to
is
have me get my charger, girl.
I know. Only a few more minutes. Give me
No, I said no, let's get into it.
Yes, I was like 10 more minutes because, we both are published authors. You've written more books than I've written, but I'm actually getting ready to dive
You're
back
on your
into the
way.
process again. Yeah, proposal number 3 is actually going to my agent who's been bugging me for it. Or proposal number 2 is going to my agent tomorrow. So, I know. I mean, you're clapping, but also I'm going to be on the other side texting you like, girl, why is it like this? Why did I say I would? After the last book, I was like, I'm not doing this again. Like, I'm not, it's like having a baby. I'm not doing this again. I'm done. Right. So I've just finished proposal, number 2. My agent has been bugging me for a book number 2 for about 2.5 years, and my last book came out 3 years ago. You
Yeah.
actually crank them out a lot faster than I do.
Mhm.
But I guess also I'm a memoirist, so it's like my business. I gotta live the
You
things.
gotta live it first.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
gotta live it and then be far enough away from it to know what
Mhm.
I lived. So all that being said, writing a book is hard. And I want to talk a little bit about that for everyone who's on here, right? Everyone on here said they have a story in them. What
Mhm.
made you feel ready to start writing these books? Because each one, like, I've been telling everyone to grab Comeback Era. It's available on Amazon, but the books go together, right?
Mhm.
Is this as you are hitting certain places and seasons, is that what's happening here that you're writing these books? Like, do you have your idea up front? Or is it that you kind of saw the journey of the 3? I'm asking this knowing, like, semi-knowing the answer because I know you. You know what I mean? But, like, can you
Mhm.
talk to us a little bit about that, the creation process of it? Is it Sugar Jar is ready, Wisdom of the Path is ready, Comeback Era is ready? Like, or like, how are you coming to this subject matter, and why is it comeback era time now?
Yes. So the Sugar Jar came out, I for 3 books in 4 years. Sugar
Yes.
Jar came out, and as I was finishing the Sugar Jar and I began to have conversations with clients and people in person about the Sugar Jar, I they started asking me questions that made me realize this book does not answer what's going to happen to them once they set the boundaries. That's how we
Mhm.
got into Wisdom of the Path, which really is like a memoir, to be honest,
It is,
because
it is, it's more detailed like that, yep.
it's more detailed like that. And I wanted to share the stories behind how I have experienced a lot of the work that I teach. Because sometimes I wanted to dissipate the idea that I have somehow figured this all out, that I am perfect, that I am, some kind of guru. Like, this is what I've been through, and this is how I got here. Once I
Mhm.
finished Wisdom of the Path, and then I was still, teaching on the Sugar Jar, I realized that one, now we're midlife. Two, we're getting to this place where I think more now than any time that I've ever experienced, because it's not just us midlife millennials, it's Gen Z who's
Yes.
also experiencing this idea of just this existential, this is not enough for me. I'm not where I want to be. And so
Mhm.
I knew I wanted to meet the moment of people wanting to find a sense of purpose, people wanted to find a sense of meaning, but not feeling like it's the right time to do it because of the economy, because of the times where all of the things. And I mean, now we know that there's no perfect time other than now, because the economy and all of the things are going to happen whether we go after our dreams or not. And so the reason why the comeback era is the perfect moment for right now is because there is so much discourse, because there
Yes.
is so much strife, because there is so much uncertainty. I feel like it takes kind of the band-aid off of, well, what if? What if? It's like we're living in what if. And so this is an
Yes.
opportunity for you to, like, there's this saying that I heard in church one time, where people were like, well, why should I save money, and why should I do this, and why should I do that? Because, the world's going to end anyway. I should just enjoy what I have right now. But what if it doesn't?
Right, right. What if you're still here, girl? What are you
What if
gonna
he's still here? So that's what we're answering with the comeback era. Like, I'm still here.
do?
Yes,
I'm
I've
gonna
lived.
make the best of it.
I have to make the best
Yes.
of this time. And not just because, oh, I should get to it, but because I want to. And I want to fulfill what my purpose is here. I want to allow myself to evolve again. I want in 20 years to feel exactly the same way and go through the comeback era again and give myself an opportunity to
Mhm.
find what I'm supposed to be doing then. That is the beauty of getting to live, I think. And I really wanted to facilitate that for women, especially, that
Yes.
feel like it's too selfish to make the decision to choose what I want for myself, because there's so much impact. Because we are the matriarchs, we hold so much
We are.
together. We make a shift. The
We
boat is shifting,
That's
you
it.
know?
That's it.
And they just gonna have to come along or get off.
Yes, yes. It's like that's and when I tell you, shout out to all the women here that are midlife, and we have a couple fellas in the room too. The lie that we're always told, and I think that a lie that a lot of us grew up with is that, we need to start winding down at
Yeah.
that 40, 50, 60 era. It's like, oh, it's the sort of coming down off of it, y'all. It's a lie. This is ramp up season. Okay. And I'm
Mhm.
not saying ramp up burnout, it's ramp up smart while sharing what you've learned. These
Yeah.
kids, the youth, okay, 20, 30, they are scrambling. They're out here like, y'all, tell us the things. Help us do this better because what is all of this? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And what's beautiful is we're capable. We
Yes.
can do it. And we need to share without the shame.
Mhm.
We need to share without the shame. So I'm on the same theme of publishing. I want to ask about you sort of give me two of the things that you have learned in the publishing process that were wildly surprising to you because I think so many people right now, think you're like, girl, I still have to finish this. Don't get me up here. Like, I'm still in it, right? But I think that a lot of people have perspectives around what publishing is like. And I'll share my own too. I won't leave you in it by yourself, right? But I'll let you go first. Tell me what your publishing surprises are from a traditional print book publishing process. Give me one good and one bad kind of, which if it can even be good or bad, but one that you were like, oh, this is great. I didn't think it would happen. And then one that's like, oh, this is really surprising and did not play out the way I thought it would.
Ooh, okay, so one that's not so great is that the publisher is not necessarily interested in selling your book. That's your job. Yes.
That is a universal. That is a universal. I was like, "Nah, she stole mine." But and absolutely, that is a big one, which is, publishers print, put together, and manufacture a book, and they make the book available for you, and they are book distributors. But
Yes.
get them into hands, that is on you, and with whatever resource
Yes.
you have, both financial, energetically, effort wise, it is up to you to get your book into people's hands. So, I don't know what that
My
looks like
light
for you,
done
but
went
I
out.
was no, you look good though still. You still look good. Lighting is still good. You look good. But it's like, people don't know, but in order for me to have my New York Times best-selling book, between additional costs for tour, makeup, photo shoots, team, hair, wigs, marketing team, press, PR,
Don't even get started with the PR. I mean, the
250,000, sis,
list.
out of pocket.
It's not a game, and I think the good thing that I would have to share is you really have to decide what you want this to be for yourself and really
That's
make
right.
this what you want for yourself,
That's right.
because you have to decide. Disha, our mutual friend
Yes. Our
Disha,
mutual friend,
said
yeah.
this. Do you want this to be a marketing book, or do you want this to be a book that you just put into hands? Is this something that you're using to speak, or is this something that you're using to do, something else with it? Because I think that people have an understanding that when you write a book that you're going to that the goal is to hit the list. The most books will never even come
Ever.
close. You're lucky if you sell 1,000
Yes,
books.
the average person sells 1,000, and we're talking about traditionally published,
Yes.
hard copy, fancy pants looking books. If you
Yes.
sell 1,000 of them, you are already in the wow category.
Yes.
And know that to get the list, we're talking 10,000 to even be within breathing room of the
Yes.
list, and that may not even get you on the list. So
Yes.
it's like, because
People
that
I
whole
know
thing
who
is a game.
sold 8,000 books, been on TV, done all the things, and didn't make the list. And so the last thing I'll just say is when you see these really fancy, even like maybe mine or Nicole's is really fancy. But I'm kidding. But when you see my kind of book tour, Nicole's book tour, and you think that's what I should be doing, I really want you to question that should and ask yourself, what is it that I really want from
That's
this
right.
experience? I know people who are traditional publishers or even self-published who have sold hundreds of thousands of books, who have curated intimate gatherings.
That's right.
Arthur Riley, she's a New York Times bestselling author,
Yep.
but she has not done the book process in the way that people would traditionally do it. And she's been on the list and she's sold thousands of books. Like, you really have to curate this experience that you want for
Very
yourself.
good.
If you're a Black woman, especially,
Yes.
really think about what you want for your community and for yourself, and go after that. And I think that's the positive thing that I can take from publishing that we all get to do.
Yes, I think that what I love about your answer is that it actually ties in with comeback era. As
Mhm.
crazy as that sounds, if this is something you want to do, publishing or getting your story out there or being a speaker or a writer, as you're discovering that, you have this sort of call on your heart and you think it looks this way, comeback era can actually help you define what is the why behind the what. Because
Yes.
one of the things that happens in comeback era as you're figuring out sort of this purpose driven life, like, what am I doing, right? Is that you really do ask yourself, when these moments get hard, because they will, right? Like, publishing is all beautiful when you sign the deal. When they announce your new book, when you figured out your advance, when you get those checks, like, it can feel really, really great. But make no mistake, there will be moments where even with all of that, you want to quit, just like a marriage, just
Yes.
like, I mean, y'all, if you've ever carried a baby, I just recently carried a baby. Like, you can't quit in the middle. I'm not me 8 months in being like, "It needs to end. This wasn't the move. Like, why did I
Yes.
decide this? Everything hurts." You know what I mean? No, you in it, you gonna see it through. So what
Mhm.
keeps you going in those seasons is a lot of what's discussed in comeback era. It's,
Mhm.
"Wait, why am I doing this in the first place?" And that's what Yasmin was sharing here. Are you publishing a book to make money? Are you
Mhm.
publishing a book to get famous? I'm not judging whatever your
It's just,
rationale
what
is.
is the reason?
What is the reason? Are you publishing a book to get your story and your message to as many people as possible? Are you publishing a book to leave a legacy? And
Mhm.
if you understand sort of the why behind the what, it really helps you understand the avenue that you want
Yes.
to take, in order to do it, because you can make a ton of money self-publishing a paperback copy that you are selling directly from your website and have tons of people reading it, and you get niche notoriety, and everywhere you go on a beach, somebody's looking at your book because your people love it, and you are known for that, and it is a legacy, and you never touched a publisher. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
that is a thing, So what is the reason, and go for it. And I think what I love about your book and the honesty of it is your book lands in the hands of the people who need it, and you have left a legacy. Like, I'm
Thank
grateful for the writing you've done because I have 4 daughters who are in this world, and I can give them this book. Like, y'all, I know I'm saying get comeback era, but it's a beautiful bundle, especially for your graduates. You know, if you wanna grab all 3 books, it's the type of thing that you stack together beautifully. They're a great size. You tie them up with a ribbon, and you gift them to your graduate because they don't need to fly blind when someone like Yasmine has written books like this. And I just thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for showing up the way you have. You are such a blessing to us.
Thank you so much. I mean, this has really uplifted me and got me ready for this tour that's happening
Oh
next
my
week.
God.
And I really appreciate everyone's comments and
We
everything
love
that's in
you.
the I just yes. Yes.
We love you. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to let you get some rest. It is officially the evening where you are. So I want you to go rest, get ready, but know that everyone here, this whole community, we are thankful to you. We are sending you energy, ease, success. We are sending you all the credentials you deserve too. So bestseller doesn't matter, right? Because you are a bestseller no matter whose
Mhm.
list you are on. But we hope you get the recognition you also deserve. And we just send you all the good sold out tours, all the people. Y'all,
Yes.
you can come see us in Los Angeles together on May 14th. Tickets are sold at the reparationsclub.com under events. You can see us there live in person. And Yasmine, I'm gonna send you a text letting you know how much I love you again
Thank
after all of
you.
this.
Thank
All right,
you. And
off
if
you
for
go.
some reason you guys can't make it to the Rep Club or if you're in a different city, you can check
Mhm.
yasminecheyenne.com/tours. I am not in Seattle, but if you have a reason I should come to Seattle, please let me know. But I'll be in New York and DC and then Atlanta. So just go to yasminecheyenne.com/tours and you can find all the details. Thank you guys so much, Nicole. You're
Yes.
amazing.
You're amazing. Follow her everywhere, y'all. Grab those links. She's Yasmine Cheyenne everywhere. I'm telling you, she will change your life. All right. I'm so grateful you're here. Go off, rest, and I will see you soon. Bye, everybody.